Some people don't need enemies to destroy them. They do it themselves, one careless sentence at a time. Not with fists, but with phrases that sound tough, confident, maybe even wise. But underneath, it's just fear wrapped in laziness. You've heard them before, those lines that signal a man has stopped growing, stopped thinking, and started coasting. The Stoics warned us, speech is the mirror of the mind. And when your words are built on excuses and ego, your life quietly follows. In this video, we're not here to play nice. We're exposing 6 things stupid men say, the kinds of phrases that chip away at your discipline, your dignity, and your respect without you even realizing it. More importantly, we'll show you what a Stoic man says instead, because your language isn't just noise. It's a signal. Either it sharpens your soul, or it sells it off, piece by piece. If you've ever said something and immediately regretted the weakness behind it, this one's going to sting. In the best way. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and drop a comment. I'd rather be quiet than sound like a fool. Now let's break the silence before your words do more damage than your enemies ever could. One of the most quietly dangerous things a man can say is, "That's just how I am." It sounds firm, it sounds definitive. But under the surface, it's pure surrender. Not surrender to truth or to principle, but to stagnation. This phrase is a prison sentence wrapped in fake strength. When you say, "That's just how I am," you're treating your character like a stone monument, when it's really a garden you're supposed to be tending. You've confused being unchanging with being strong. It's just ego with a lazy mask on. Think about a man who constantly avoids emotional connection. Every time his wife asks for more, he mutters, "I'm not built like that." When his kids try to talk about their struggles, he dismisses it with, "That's not how I do things." Over time, his relationships begin to quietly collapse, not from drama, but from dust. Nothing changes, nothing moves, and eventually nothing remains. When his family gives up, they don't slam the door. They just stop waiting for a man who refused to evolve. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus reminds us, progress is not achieved by luck or accident, but by working on yourself daily. A Stoic doesn't hide behind identity, he refines it. He listens, not because he's weak, but because he's wise enough to know that every day gives him another chance to sharpen who he is. The man who says, "That's just how I am," has not just stopped growing, he has started decaying. Few phrases reveal a man's inner weakness faster than, "It's not my fault." On the surface, it sounds like a defense, but underneath, it's an admission of defeat. This is the language of a man who has surrendered all agency over his life, who believes the world just happens to him. He is always the victim, never the cause, and never the solution. That mindset doesn't just erode his dignity, it sterilizes his entire existence. The Stoic view is the exact opposite. Blame looks backward, responsibility looks forward. While you can't control what happens, you have absolute control over your response. Blaming the economy, your boss, or your past is not explaining your pain. It's giving away your power. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, the Stoic's job isn't to assign blame for the past, but to act with virtue in the present. So the next time something falls apart and that phrase rises in your throat, catch it, replace it. Don't say, "It's not my fault." Instead of it, say, "It's now my responsibility." That subtle shift is the difference between a man who remains bitter and one who becomes better. This phrase pretends to be confidence, but it's really just arrogance building a wall to keep wisdom out. When you say this, you're not signaling how smart you are. You're signaling a closed mind. You're saying, "I'm done learning about this." Nothing's more dangerous to your growth than thinking you've already arrived. The Stoics believed humility was the foundation of wisdom. True wisdom isn't having all the answers. It's being relentlessly curious. A truly confident person isn't afraid to say, "I hadn't thought of it that way. Tell me more." Imagine a talented young employee in a meeting. Senior colleague suggests a more efficient way to handle a project. Instead of listening, his pride is wounded. He cuts her off and says, "Yeah, I know that. I just did it this way for a reason." In that moment, he's disrespected a colleague and thrown away a chance to learn. He chose looking smart over being smart. Eventually, people will just stop trying to help him. A Stoic would approach this with humility. He'd listen and say, "Thanks for pointing that out. Can you walk me through your logic?" This shows real strength, a commitment to excellence over ego. Instead of declaring, "I already know that," a Stoic shows true confidence, which is found not in what you already know, but in your constant willingness to learn. This is the quiet surrender of a defeated spirit. It's an excuse that pretends to be realistic. Whether it's changing careers, learning a skill, or fixing a relationship, the person who says it's too late has decided their past gets to define their future. They've let the calendar become their warden. The Stoics would flat out reject this. For them, the only time that matters is right now. The past is for lessons, not a life sentence. As Seneca wrote, "Every new beginning comes from some other beginning's end." Life isn't one race you can be too late for. It's a series of moments, each one a fresh start. Instead of surrendering with, "It's too late for me," a Stoic affirms, "The time to act is now." He understands that every moment is a new beginning. This is a modern mantra of independence that often hides deep insecurity. While it sounds like strength, it's often a brittle shield for a fragile ego. It's used by people who actually care a lot and are trying to protect themselves from judgment, or as an excuse for inconsiderate behavior. Stoic philosophy is much more nuanced. The goal isn't defiant indifference, it's wise discernment. The opinions of others are external, so they shouldn't be the source of your self-worth. But they aren't to be ignored entirely. They can contain useful information. A Stoic isn't ruled by the opinions of others, but he doesn't live in a bubble. Let's say an artist gets harsh criticism. Hurt, he defensively declares, "I don't care what people think." He stops engaging and dismisses all feedback. His art stagnates because he's cut himself off, says he doesn't care, but his actions are driven by his fear of caring. A Stoic-minded artist would handle it differently. She'd remind herself that others' opinions don't define her worth. But then, she would calmly look for any truth in the feedback. She filters the noise for the signal. Instead of defensively claiming, "I don't care what people think," a Stoic tells themselves, "I will not let their opinion dictate my self-worth, but I will listen for what I can learn." The final and most corrosive phrase is the one that surrenders all hope. This question is the sound of a spirit collapsing. It comes from apathy and despair. The person asking isn't looking for an answer. They're making a statement. Effort is futile and purpose is an illusion. This is the most anti-Stoic sentiment possible. Imagine a man worn down by life's hardships. "What's the point?" he asks. Nothing ever really changes. He has tied his meaning to an outcome he can't control. A Stoic would frame his purpose differently. His purpose is to show up every day and act with virtue, to offer every situation his full attention and discipline. His meaning comes from his own virtuous effort, which is always in his control. This internal purpose is unshakable. Instead of asking in despair, "What's the point?" the Stoic creates their own purpose by asking, "Who do I choose to be in this situation?" The point is not found, but forged. Every man leaves a trail, sometimes in footsteps, sometimes in phrases. The truth is, people will judge you by what slips out when you're not performing. And these 6 phrases don't just sound weak. They are weakness distilled into words. Repeated long enough, they become your identity. But here's the twist. That identity isn't final, not if you have the guts to face it, because weakness isn't the enemy, denial is. Marcus Aurelius said, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." If you speak like a victim, expect to suffer like one. But if you begin to speak with clarity, even in private, you start to rebuild something far stronger than reputation. Character, a Stoic man doesn't talk to impress. He speaks with precision, with restraint, with awareness. And when he's quiet, that silence carries weight. If this video hit a nerve, let it. That's where the growth starts. Like this video, subscribe to the channel, and drop a comment. I choose strength over sound, because foolish men fill the air, but the wise they speak, and the world leans in. Message of the day.